Are you an independent author with an incredible story to share? Are you afraid your book will get lost in a sea of books? True Vine Publishing Company can help you stand out. We're not just a publishing service, we're your partner in success. We provide personalized marketing strategies and eye-catching covers that will captivate your audience. We will build your author platform and connect with your readers. We have helped countless authors achieve success, and we can help you too. Break free from the shadows, take control of your publishing journey, and make your mark. Visit TrueVinePublishing.com or call 615-44-BOOKS to schedule a consultation.
Hello, this is Timothy Barr with True Vine Publishing Company, and you're watching the next episode of The Right Change, where our guest today is Kent Garret, author of Basic Life Manual So You Don't Screw It Up. Hey, Kent, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing great. It's so good to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you. First of all, I always like to say thank you and show some gratitude because you could have gone with any publisher. So I'm grateful that you gave me the opportunity. So firstly, I want to do give you an opportunity to just kind of share with the audience, with the world, a little bit about Kent Garret.
Yeah, man, I'm 35. I'm from East Tennessee. I live in Nashville, Tennessee for the last 6 years.
Okay.
I'm an entrepreneur. I've worked for myself for the past 6 years as well. Just started full-time this past year, thankfully. I've been doing hospital counseling. I've been doing end-of-life care. Been doing health coaching. Been in counseling, been out of counseling. So I've had experiences from a lot of different areas of the world, from the fitness side of the world to the psychology side of the world to even the religious, spiritual side of the world. I have a bachelor's in exercise science and then a master's in clinical counseling, as well as a partial degree in physical therapy. So I have a lot of different things going on professionally. So, and personally, it was kind of a mess for about 10 years, honestly. And that's what kind of led to the writing of the book, which we'll get into, but kind of made a lot of crazy mistakes for about a decade and then spent the next half decade figuring out what went wrong, why did I do these things, and I learned from a lot of smarter people than me of how to prevent these things from happening. And that's kind of the culmination of what's all in the book. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Wow. I mean, you're 35, man. It's like a decade of messing up and a decade of learning. Man, you must have started early.
Yeah, I started screwing up around 18, probably. Okay. 17.
Okay. It sounds like your life has moved into a direction of both body, mind, and spirit, right? So you talk about health, you talk about psychology, you talk about the spiritual. Take us through that journey.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is quite the journey. The easiest, well, maybe not the easiest, but the most straightforward aspect of life, which is the physical side of life. So I was a health coach and a personal trainer right out of college for a couple years. So I got to know the ins and the outs of how the body works, how the biology, the physiology, how everything's connected with your body. And then once I felt like I learned pretty much almost all there was to learn, you can never learn everything, but all I needed to learn about that, I just kind of naturally progressed to the psychology and spiritual side of life. So I got, like I said, I got a master's in counseling with a minor in psychology, and just really dove into how the body connects with the mind. And so for the 2 or 3 years, or 4 or 5 years of studying the body to then the 2 or 3 years of studying the mind and how this connects, I felt like I was creating a bridge, like a 3-level bridge of holistic health and holistic living, basically. And so the third leg of the bridge didn't come till after, when I got the spiritual side of life. I got it was actually a kind of a seminary degree mixed with a psychology degree on spirituality and on theology. So that kind of created that third little peg, or that third little Lego step of the bridge from body, mind, and spirit. And so for the next several years, I just dove deep into philosophy, into contemporary philosophy, like Alan Watts, and then a lot of Stoic philosophy and Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, a lot of stuff like that. Just kind of a whole encompassing So it was almost like this bridge was created through the 8 years, and then this bubble was created over it to hold it in place. And that bubble is philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And this was all internal. I didn't really practice it. I didn't live it out. Kind of spent a few years just doing whatever I wanted with this knowledge. And so in those years after having all this knowledge, this complete bridge with this bubble around it, I started messing up, and I started destroying relationships, and I started alienating friends, and I started feeling depressed, and I was just like, how do I have like this complete knowledge of everything, but I'm just screwing everything up? And it was because I wasn't practically applying anything that I knew. Mm-hmm. So with this holistic approach, with this complete picture, I journaled. I started journaling for years, and I found like just maybe 50 different beautiful, wonderful nuggets that I could put into practice. And so out of these 50 nuggets, I dwindled them down over a set of time to 10, which I put in the book. 10 of the best things I've ever learned, and the best things that have helped me get over the failures I've had, and the 10 of the best things that anybody can put into practice to help them avoid or get through some of the failures and the mess ups they're going to go through in life. So really, it was just a long journey. I know I'm fairly young-ish still, but I feel old. It was a long journey to just understanding like how the body, mind, spirit works, how to practically apply that, how it works in relationships with other people, with community, with culture, with the modern digital world we live in, kind of learning how that all coincides and works together, and putting like 10 of the best things I know to do into a written work.
Let's talk about this title, man. I love it. And it's kind of like my personality as well. But at first I saw a basic life manual. I'm like, okay, then I see the subtitle, so you don't screw it up. Tell us about that title.
Man, that's a good question. I'm not a creative. I wish I was. With some of my friends, are in theater and art, they're in music writing. A lot of people in Nashville write music and compose music. And I just like, I want to be able to be that creative. And sometimes I am with like music, but it just came to me. It was in like almost like a dream state of like, I want something simple, but to the point. Yeah. But it's also a little bit like edgy, that kind of like pokes at you to be like, oh, wait a second, this is a little bit, has a little bit of edge to it. Yeah. So I came up with that. I love it because it's not, comprehensive. It's not an encyclopedia. It's not like 500 pages. It doesn't like go into the depths of the deep, dark side of psychology or philosophy. There are some references to some other things you can check out, but it's just like if I had to pick like just 10 things to focus on in life, like I would pick this, and that's like the basic things I would pick to focus on. And then the subtitle, like you were saying, the basic principle or the basic idea is to put these things into practice, so you don't waste this life that's a gift that's been given. You don't mess it up. You learn from it. You use it, and you live to the best of your ability. So a lot of my the goal of my end of life care of counseling was to increase the quality of life proportionate to the person as much as they can. So that's different for every person. I'm not going to take someone who's in a hospital bed and have them playing the NBA. But there are different levels of improving a person's quality of life as best they can. So that's kind of the goal and the idea of this. No matter if you're, a 16-year-old who's just starting out, figuring out what life is, or you're, my age or older, and you've just screwed up. I say screwed up, but there's a chapter in the book saying that there's no such thing as a screw up, which is part of it. But if you think you've screwed up, then this book is for you. If you're in prison, if you've been incarcerated for half your life, the book is still for you. The audience is for any person who's just wanting to find a way to improve their quality of life just a little bit.
I hear you saying like you help people with end of life care, and you have that kind of tough love approach. How have you seen these principles that you have in the book, and that you're helping these people who are in that end of life care? How have you seen that impact them?
Man, it's almost the other way around. I've learned so many things from these people who are at the end of the life. And a lot of the things I do put in the book are things that I've learned from them that they helped me with. Wow. So I figured out after maybe 6 months of working in the hospital, in the ER and in ICUs, I figured I went into these rooms with patients to counsel them, and terminal cancers, amputations, car wrecks, everything you could think of, just a general care. And these people were kind of happy, and there was a lot of joy in the room. And I just, over months, I was just couldn't figure it out. I'm like, what is going on? It wasn't that case always. A lot of times there's grief, and a lot of times, grief's going to happen with most anyone who's in that situation. But through the grief, they find happiness and they find peace. And I just dove deep into, because I was lucky. When doctors go into a room or when nurses go into the room, they're there to do something, and they, 10 minutes and then they're out. Like me as the counselor, I could stay in there, 8 hours if I wanted to, and just learn from these people and understand what they're going through and understand the psychology about what's happening and what's important with life, and what they wish they would have done different, or what's really been impactful, or mainly what values do they have and how are they so upbeat in this situation. So started learning through the months of just figuring out how humans work and how the human brain works and how the human psyche works. Again, I don't have it all figured out by any means, but I did learn from a lot of things from those people, and some of the principles are in this book. And so it's more so the other way around. They taught me a lot more than I could teach them.
So I know you say you have 50 of your top journal lessons, and then you condense that to your top 10. Let's talk about let's say your top 3 of the top 10. Man,
that's a hard question. But it's not that hard. I would probably say chapter 5, go get it. Chapter 7, what really matters. And then, stop picking your favorite kids.
Yeah.
Chapter 9, nothing to lose. Probably those top 3, because it really gets into just go get it is just complete practical application of what really matters and what's holding you back, and the restraints of what's holding you back are just not even real. They're just made up. And then chapter 7 is kind of everything, boiled down, the psychology and philosophy of life, and of human essence, and why are we here, what's the point, and how to live in that knowledge and understanding of what does really make sense. And it goes through some listing of what things we're taught that matters, but what actually matters to us as humans. And then building off that, chapter 9 of nothing to lose, that was probably the most transformative thing I've ever learned, is that from a meta level, everything is going to end at some point. So what is the reason that we're not going for, at least giving the most effort we possibly could to what our heart desires, or what our mind desires, or what we know is the best version of ourselves would desire? Because at the end of the day, 80 years from now, the technology we're using right now, both of us probably will be gone, and all the failures and everything we've ever done are just going to be in the past. They're going to be literal nothing.
Right.
So what is the reason that we're not going for the things we need to go for? And it goes through, it's a listing of those things, and it's mostly just fear and induced psychological nonsense from society and from what we learned. So I'm trying to unpack and reverse of what we learned. Don't do this. Be a good little boy. Just stay in your lane. Do what you're told to do. Don't cause any trouble. Don't cause any problems. And trying to rewire that to being the best version of ourselves and going for what the best version of ourselves would go for in a way that is beneficial for everyone around us. I know I maybe sound a little bit, I don't want to say narcissistic, but self-focused, where this is really not self-focused. It's for the greatest good of everyone around us. Yeah,
self-focused. It's like in the airplane when they tell you got to put the oxygen on yourself before you can hit others,
Yeah, that is a good principle. It's not selfish to become the best version of yourself, so that version can impact society in the best way that it possibly can. Because the whole point of this is not to become the best version of yourself so you can sit in your room and just eat Doritos and drink Coke and just feel good. It's become the best version of yourself so that you can impact the world in the way that the world needs you to be.
The fears that most of us deal with nowadays is, fear of losing money, fear of losing material things. We don't fear, a saber-toothed tiger coming out to eat us anymore, right? Some of us do have to fear those who live in bad neighborhoods or whatever, there are some levels of survival. But on the whole, most of us, especially in America, have basic materialistic fears of money, losing homes, or embarrassment. Mostly it comes down to ego. How have you found the ability to overcome that ego that, like you said, at the end of the day, everything is going to be, a vapor at the end of the day. How do you overcome that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't go through too much biblical teaching in the book, but I think that a biblical principle is really good for this to start with. When Jesus tells that a demon to come out, and the basic principle behind that is that the way you get a demon to come out is to call it by name, is to understand it, is to figure out what it is and why it's there. So everything you just said, like all the fears, whether it's a fear of public speaking or a fear of I'm not going to have enough money, I'm going to lose my job, the fear of if I cut this person off in traffic, are they going to come after me, to the fear of there might be a saber-toothed tiger behind this rock and it might kill me. All those fears basically come down to fear of on the very basic level, fear of not having enough, fear of death, fear of lack. So everything comes down to like, I'm not going to have what I need to be the best version of myself. So saber-tooth tiger is going to tear my leg off, and I need my leg to be the best version of myself. Fear of public speaking is these people are going to think I'm stupid and I can't talk, so that's not going to make me look like I'm the best version of myself. So once you understand that every fear, one, is there for a good reason, and two, needs to be understood, then that ego kind of comes down, kind of the walls come down from fearing the unknown. The biggest fear is the fear of the unknown, because that's what we all truly fear, things we don't know. Once you know said thing, then the fear becomes so much less. So like traffic, for example, like I know it's a silly example, but if you're fearing cutting somebody off because they might get mad, if you knew for a fact that you could cut someone off and there would be no repercussions, no consequences whatsoever, you would just do it. You wouldn't have any fear, you wouldn't care, because you know and you understand. So once you get to that point where you know and you understand like what the fear is, why it's there, and how to use it for good, then there's really no ego left. It breaks down that facade, which is just I'm not going to have what I need to be the best version of myself. And so when you can, like, I don't want to say fight against the fear, but really just invite it into the room and let it sit with you and have a conversation and understand it. Same thing for anxiety. Then you really start to see and feel like, oh, this isn't too bad. It's here for a reason. It's here to protect me. I can use it for good. And then you can get to the ultimate end of the day of like, we're just a vapor, we're just a mist. So this fear is eventually going to be gone. That's a hard thing to understand. I don't expect anybody or even myself to get to that point, overnight. That's a real hard lesson to learn, even though it is true. It starts with the understanding of the fear and why it's there, why the anxiety is there, what it's trying to tell you, and how can I use it to become the best version of myself.
Yeah. Something that really helps me and centers me and grounds me is saying life doesn't happen to me, it's happening for me. And to me, it speaks to that principle that there's nothing to lose, right? If it doesn't work out the way I wanted it to, it's because it wasn't supposed to work that way, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's supposed to, so I needed to hit that wall so I could turn left or turn right to keep going to where I'm supposed to be. And that's one of the things I was just talking about this the other day, man. One of the things that really hit me over the last 20, no, not from 2001 to 2020. I got married in 2000. I got married in 2000. 2001, I graduated college in 2002. Okay. I had this notion of what life was supposed to be. Right. I was supposed to have this kind of job. I was supposed to be making this kind of money. I was supposed to have this kind of house. Right. What I really wanted in my life was to be in a happy home, have a balanced life, right? Have a comfortable life and be able to take care of my kids, right? So from 2002 to 2020, I was frustrated, agitated, feeling like I wasn't living the life that I wanted. After 2020, my business really started to blow up. And then I was able to kind of come back and realize I had everything I wanted all those years, right? I had the home, I had the comfortable lifestyle, I had, the nice car, my kids were spoiled. I had everything I wanted, but it didn't look like what I wanted. It didn't look like the expectation of what it was supposed to look like, right? But God had given me everything I wanted. Have you experienced like that kind of revelation? Like,
Dude, yeah, you're speaking my language now. That's good. That's basically one of the influences for this book was Ryan Holiday's The Obstacle is the Way, the book about Stoic philosophy.
Yeah.
And it's basically exactly what you just said of like the obstacle in our path in life becomes the way that we get to what we want or the best version of ourselves. So when I have these pockets of like I call them like eternal cerebral understanding, like just a beautiful fact of truth that one of them is what you were saying of just everything that's happened to me was exactly what was supposed to happen in exactly the right way. Yeah. And there's nothing that went wrong or nothing that I should have done different or nothing that I could have done different because it is exactly what it is. It is what it is.
Right.
And once I get to that understanding, like the past, every single thing in the past is just perception. It is nothing more than just how I perceive it, because I could be looking at an event that happened in the past and someone else could be looking at it as two different things in our memory.
Yeah.
You could just, whatever you perceive it being is what it is, and the future is just an idea. So no one knows what the future is going to be. You can think you do, but it may not turn out that way. You can influence it by your perception of the past and your understanding. So the future is what it's going to be as well. So it was like it's a giving up of control of the anxiety of the past and the future, but it's not giving up control of creating it, because what I do influences it. But at the same time, it is going to be what it is. And exactly what you're saying of, I might have thought that I should have a certain thing, or maybe I should not have X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. But those ideas are just perception as well. It's a societal perception that's telling me, I should have this many cars, this house, this land. I should have all these things. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that's just an idea and a perception too. It may not be what's best for you. It may not be what's right for you. I know a lot of people who live in mansions and have plenty of cars and they're not happy.
Right.
So the materialistic things aren't what's important. It's just the perception of what you have. And that goes into a lot of contentment things, and we can go down the rabbit hole of contentment and what that looks like. But basically, to answer your question, everything in my life is, at the time, even if it's painful, now is a perception. My perception is it is an event that happened that I can't change, that I can't do anything about it. The only thing I can do is learn from it and create a future that is maybe a little bit brighter for me and the people around me through my understanding of a past event that was difficult.
What's your ultimate goal for this book?
To help people. Basically, that's it. I don't care how many it sells. I don't care, financially or anything at all. I just want people to learn from what I've learned and to become the best version of themselves. Because I think ultimately we as a society need that. We don't need people who are just kind of falling in line and going with the crowd and, doing what they're told to do and spending time, whatever, scrolling social media or just like being a less version of themselves. We need people to fully embrace who they are. And then out of that, people create so many millions of things, whether it's a family or whether it's a new app or whether it's a rec center for kids. That's the type of people we need, people who are just creating and becoming the best version of themselves. And it could be the best version of yourself is to be an accountant and work a 9 to 5 and to help people that way. I'm not just trying to disclude anyone, but really what I want this book to do is just to help people understand like who they are, where they are, and how to be the best version of themselves.
I say this all the time: authors change the world. I believe we do that by changing people's lives with the words that we write. There's an old saying, I think it's a Chinese proverb: if you throw a rock in the ocean, you can change the current. And so when you talk about just changing somebody's life, again, it's not about changing everybody's life,
Right.
because we don't know what one person's contribution to this world really is, right? You think about movies like It's a Wonderful Life, or where one person, or Back to the Future, right? One person's existence has a ripple effect of so much, right? If you're not here, who's to say your presence doesn't change the whole trajectory of society, right? So,
Yeah, and on that, I want to say one thing about that, because that's a great point. But also, we sometimes get lost in this magnitude mentality of like, oh, if I'm not up on stage, speaking at TED Talk, then I'm not impacting society.
right.
Where in the last chapter 10 goes over, be who you are, and the you that you are is enough. So whether your impact is creating Apple, or your impact is being a light to someone who's in need, or like loving your kid, or being a kind person to your spouse, that you is enough, and that you is exactly what we need in society. It doesn't have to be this great magnitude. It could just be small little thing.
That's a good place to close out. How can people reach out to you, find out more about you? Are you open to public speaking?
Yeah, well, I mentioned the fear of public speaking. Luckily, I don't have a fear of public speaking, so yeah, I would be down for that. Obviously, the book through the website is a good way. I respond to social media, so if you want to check out my Instagram page, it's just my name, which is on the screen, Kent Garret. That's my Instagram page. Check out of course, the TrueVine website. I think those will probably be the best two ways to get in contact.
Listen, everyone, let's get the word out. I want you to like this video, share it. Let's get the word out about Kent Garret and the book, Basic Life Manual. Ken, I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be a part of this journey with you, and thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely, Timothy. I enjoyed it. Thanks so much.